What if tonight were your last night on earth? Not tomorrow, not years from now, tonight. And as your final breath slowly fades into silence, what would appear in your mind? Would it be the faces of the people you love, the moments you never fully appreciated, or perhaps the regrets you buried long ago, hoping that one day, somehow, you would have more time? For as long as human beings have existed, we have asked the same question. What happens after death? Do we simply disappear? Do we awaken somewhere else? Or is there something waiting beyond the limits of this world? Ancient civilizations imagined heavens and hells. Philosophers debated the nature of the soul. Scientists explored the mysteries of consciousness. Yet, more than 2,000 years ago, Buddhism offered a different answer. Not a promise, not a threat, but a map. According to the Abhidhamma, one of the deepest teachings of Buddhism, death is not the end of existence. It is only a transition, a moment when one life dissolves and another begins. The Buddha described a universe far greater than anything visible to the human eye, a universe composed of 31 realms of existence. Some are worlds of unimaginable suffering, others are filled with beauty, joy, and extraordinary lifespans, and some are so subtle that they exist beyond form itself. But before we begin this journey, there is something even more surprising. These realms are not merely distant places hidden somewhere in the cosmos. In many ways, they already exist within us. Because in Buddhism, reality is shaped not only by where we are, but by the state of our minds. There are moments when anger burns inside us so fiercely that life itself feels like a prison. Moments when desire becomes endless, when no achievement, no possession, and no relationship can ever feel like enough. Moments when jealousy and fear quietly control our choices. And then, there are those rare moments of peace. Moments when the noise fades away, when the mind becomes still, and we sense something deeper than our ordinary lives. The Buddha taught that beings move endlessly through different states of existence, guided by karma. Every choice matters. Every intention leaves a trace. Every action shapes the future in ways we may never fully understand. And perhaps most importantly, the final moment of the mind can influence the next beginning. Tonight, we will travel through all 31 realms, from the darkest depths of suffering to the highest states of consciousness, not as fantasy, not as mythology, but as a way of understanding the human experience itself. So, before we continue, take a moment and ask yourself, right now, which realm are you living in? The universe, according to Buddhism, is far larger than most of us could ever imagine, not because it contains countless stars and galaxies, but because it contains countless states of existence. The Buddha spoke of 31 realms, divided into 3 great worlds. The first is the realm most familiar to us, the world of desire, a place shaped by pleasure and pain, by hope and disappointment, by fear, ambition, love, and loss. This is known as the sensual realm, and it contains 11 different planes of existence. The second is a world far more subtle, a realm beyond ordinary desires, reached only through profound states of meditation and inner stillness. This is the realm of form, a place where the mind begins to let go of the distractions that define human life. And beyond even that, lies the formless realm, a dimension so refined that physical shape disappears completely. No bodies, no landscapes, only consciousness itself. But before we continue, there is something important to understand. When we hear words like heaven, hell, or another world, we often imagine distant places, somewhere beyond the sky. The Abhidhamma invites us to see things differently. These realms are not simply locations in the universe. They are dimensions of experience, dimensions of consciousness. A person consumed by rage may already be living in a kind of hell. Someone trapped by endless craving may already know the suffering of the hungry ghosts. And a mind filled with compassion, wisdom, and peace may already be touching something heavenly. According to Buddhist teachings, where we are reborn is not decided by luck. It is not determined by fate, and it is not the judgment of some higher power. It is shaped by karma, the countless choices we make, day after day, moment after moment. Every act of kindness, every moment of hatred, every attachment, every sacrifice. Nothing disappears. Everything leaves an imprint upon the mind, and when one life comes to an end, those imprints continue their journey. Some lead upward, some lead downward, but all remain part of the great cycle of birth and death, a cycle the Buddha called Samsara. Tonight, we will travel through all 3 worlds, from the darkest realms of suffering, through the fragile beauty of human life, to the highest states of consciousness imaginable, and our journey begins. in the places that every being fears the most. Few people spend their lives thinking about hell. Most of us imagine it as a story, a warning, something distant and unreal. But in the teachings of Buddhism, the hell realms are not eternal punishments. They are temporary destinations shaped by actions rooted in hatred, cruelty, and violence. And among the 31 realms of existence, they are the darkest. The Buddha described 8 great hells and countless lesser ones. Worlds of fire and ice, worlds of unbearable heat and endless cold, places where suffering stretches far beyond human imagination. A single day in some of these realms is said to equal thousands of years on earth. Yet even here, nothing lasts forever. When the force of karma is exhausted, beings leave these realms and continue their journey elsewhere. But perhaps the most unsettling question is not whether hell exists after death. It is whether we have already experienced it while still alive. Think of a moment when anger consumed you completely. A moment when resentment became so heavy that it followed you for days, or even years. Think of wars started by hatred, families torn apart by bitterness, lives destroyed by a single act of violence. Hell, in Buddhism, is not merely a place beneath the world. It is also a state of mind. And from that darkness, the journey continues. Beyond the hell realms lies another world, a world we know well, the animal realm. At first glance, animals seem free. Birds cross the sky, fish move through endless oceans, wild creatures roam forests and mountains. But beneath that freedom lies a different reality. Life ruled by instinct, life ruled by fear. Every day is a struggle to survive, to find food, to escape danger, to protect territory. The strong hunt the weak hide from the strong. And beneath it all lies ignorance. Not ignorance as an insult, but the inability to fully understand suffering and the path beyond it. According to Buddhist teachings, rebirth in the animal realm arises from delusion, from living without awareness, from allowing instinct to govern every choice. And yet, if we are honest with ourselves, how often do we live in exactly the same way? How often do we spend our days chasing comfort, avoiding pain, reacting without thinking, never stopping long enough to ask why we are here? The line between the human world and the animal world may be thinner than we imagine, and beyond that line, another realm awaits, a realm haunted not by violence, but by endless hunger. The beings of this realm are known as the hungry ghosts. In Buddhist tradition, they are called time's pretas, invisible to most human eyes. They wander endlessly, driven by a thirst that can never be satisfied. Ancient texts describe them with swollen stomachs and impossibly narrow throats. No matter how desperately they reach for food, it is never enough. No matter how much they possess, the feeling of emptiness remains. They suffer not because they have nothing, but because nothing can satisfy them. According to the Buddha's teachings, this realm is born from greed, from attachment, from the endless desire for more wealth, more power, more recognition, more pleasure. And perhaps this realm feels strangely familiar, because how many people spend their entire lives chasing one more achievement, one more possession, one more promise that happiness is just around the corner? We tell ourselves, if only I had a little more money, if only I were more successful, if only people admired me, then, finally, I would be happy. But the moment we reach one destination, another desire appears, the hunger returns, and the cycle begins again. The realm of the hungry ghosts is not simply a world after death. It is the suffering of a mind that can never rest, a mind forever searching and never arriving. And yet, even beyond greed and craving, there exists another form of suffering, a realm inhabited by beings of immense power, beings who possess strength, intelligence, and influence, but who remain trapped by comparison. This is the realm of the asuras, the jealous titans. Unlike the hungry ghosts, the asuras are not weak. They are fierce, ambitious, capable of extraordinary achievements, and still, they know no peace. Buddhist stories tell of endless conflicts between the asuras and the heavenly beings. Battles not fought for survival, but for status, for victory, for the need to prove oneself superior. Their suffering comes from envy, from anger, from the painful belief that someone else has what they deserve. And perhaps, once again, we recognize something of ourselves. How often do we measure our lives against the lives of others? How often do we celebrate someone else's success, while secretly wishing it belonged to us instead? In today's world, entire lives can be consumed by comparison, scrolling through endless images, watching strangers become richer, more beautiful, more successful, and somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice begins to whisper, "Why not me? The Buddha taught that envy is its own prison, because no victory is ever enough when the mind is always looking over its shoulder. And after passing through the realms of hatred, instinct, greed, and jealousy, we finally arrive at a place unlike any other, the human realm, the realm where you and I are living right now. Of all the realms described in Buddhist teachings, the human world is considered one of the rarest, not because human beings are more powerful than the gods, and not because our lives are free from suffering. In truth, the human realm is precious for a very different reason. It stands at the center of existence, balanced between joy and sorrow, between wisdom and ignorance, between heaven above and suffering below. Here, we experience loss, we experience love, we build families, we chase dreams, we grow old, and one day, we die. No other realm contains such a complete mixture of pleasure and pain. The lower realms are overwhelmed by suffering. The heavenly realms are intoxicated by happiness, but human life exists somewhere in between, and perhaps that is why awakening is possible here. If life contained nothing but pain, we would have little strength to seek wisdom, and if life contained nothing but pleasure, we might never feel the need to search for anything beyond it. The Buddha himself attained enlightenment, not as a god, but as a human being, because only in this fragile existence do we encounter the questions that truly matter. Who are we? Why do we suffer? What remains when everything we love eventually changes? Human life, according to Buddhism, is unimaginably rare. Ancient teachers offered a famous comparison. Imagine a blind turtle living at the bottom of a vast ocean. Once every 100 years, it rises to the surface. Floating somewhere upon that endless sea is a single wooden ring. The chance that the turtle's head passes through that ring is said to be greater than the chance of being born as a human. And yet, most of us move through our days as though this life will last forever. We postpone our dreams. We postpone forgiveness. We postpone kindness, always believing there will be more time. But human life is brief. A single breath in an ancient universe. A moment between birth and death. And according to Buddhist teachings, what we choose to do with that moment shapes everything that follows. Still, above the human world rise realms of astonishing beauty, worlds untouched by disease, by aging, and by the countless struggles that define earthly life. For countless generations, people have dreamed of reaching heaven, and now, our journey leads upward, toward the 6 heavenly realms of desire. For thousands of years, human beings have looked toward the sky and imagined paradise, a place without suffering, without sickness, without loss, a world where happiness never fades. In Buddhist cosmology, such realms do exist. Above the human world lie 6 heavenly realms, known as the realms of desire. They are inhabited by celestial beings whose lives are longer, brighter, and far more pleasurable than our own. The first is the realm of the 4 great kings, guardians said to watch over the world and protect the balance between heaven and earth. Above them rises the heaven of the 33, a realm of magnificent palaces and radiant gardens. According to ancient texts, a single day there is equal to many years in the human world. Higher still lies the Yama heaven, a realm free from conflict and ordinary suffering. Then comes Tusita, the heavenly home where future Buddhas are said to dwell before their final birth among humans. Beyond Tusita are realms of even greater beauty, worlds where beings create delights through the power of their own minds. And finally, the highest heaven of desire, a realm where celestial beings enjoy pleasures beyond anything we can imagine. Their lives last for millions, even billions of years. To human beings, such an existence sounds almost eternal. And yet, the Buddha taught that even heaven is impermanent. The gods laugh, they celebrate, they experience joy beyond measure. But slowly, almost invisibly, the force of their karma begins to fade. The radiance of their bodies grows dim. Their magnificent worlds begin to slip away. And for the first time in ages, fear appears, because even the gods cannot escape change. Even the heavens cannot escape time. And when the merit that brought them there is exhausted, they, too, continue wandering through the endless cycle of birth and death. Perhaps this is one of the most surprising teachings in Buddhism. The goal is not to reach heaven. The goal is not to accumulate pleasure, because pleasure, no matter how extraordinary, always comes to an end. The Buddha did not teach a path toward eternal comfort. He taught a path toward freedom, and beyond the heavens of desire, there exists another world entirely, a world untouched by craving, a world reached not through wealth, power, or good fortune, but through deep meditation, the realm of form, the beginning of a journey inward. Beyond the heavens of pleasure, beyond the worlds shaped by desire, there exists another realm entirely, a realm that cannot be reached through wealth, through generosity alone, or through the pursuit of happiness. It is reached only by turning inward, by quieting the senses, by training the mind. In Buddhist teachings, this is known as the realm of form, a world inhabited by beings who have gone beyond ordinary desire through deep states of meditation. Imagine, for a moment, what it would feel like if every distraction suddenly disappeared. No endless stream of thoughts, no cravings, no fear of losing what you love, only silence, only awareness, only the mind itself. The Buddha taught that these realms arise through time's jhana, profound states of concentration cultivated through years of practice. And as the mind grows calmer, its world changes. The realm of form is divided into 4 great levels. Each one represents a deeper journey into consciousness. The first level begins when the mind finally loosens its grip on the pleasures of the senses. Desire has not vanished completely, but it no longer dominates. Those who dwell in these realms experience a powerful sense of joy and clarity. For the first time, the happiness they know no longer depends on possessions, status, or the approval of others. Their minds become steady. Their awareness grows bright. And yet, even this is only the beginning. As concentration deepens, a transformation takes place. The excitement and exhilaration of the earlier states begin to soften. The mind no longer rushes outward. Instead, it turns inward completely. This is the second level. Here, joy becomes more refined. Peace replaces restlessness. Ancient texts describe beings whose radiance seems almost limitless, not because light shines upon them, but because calmness shines from within. And then, the journey continues. The intense happiness that once filled the mind slowly fades, not because something has been lost, but because something deeper has been discovered. This is the third level, a place of profound balance. The thrill of joy gives way to quiet contentment. Imagine standing beside a still lake at dawn. No wind, no movement, no desire to be anywhere else. Only a deep and effortless peace. But even peace continues to evolve. Eventually, the mind reaches the 4th and highest level of the realm of form. At this stage, even the subtle feeling of happiness disappears. What remains is pure equanimity, perfect stillness, perfect balance. Nothing to gain, nothing to fear, nothing to cling to. Within these highest realms dwell beings known as the non-returners, those who have already broken the chains of sensual desire and are approaching final liberation. Their existence is extraordinarily subtle. Their minds are free from the storms that shape ordinary life. And yet, even these realms are not eternal. Even the most refined states of meditation remain part of the cycle of birth and death. Because as long as there is still becoming, there is still impermanence. And beyond even these luminous worlds, there lies something stranger still. A realm where form itself disappears. A realm without bodies, without matter, without shape. The formless realms. The final frontier of consciousness. Beyond the realm of form. Beyond light. Beyond beauty. Beyond even the deepest stillness. The Buddha described 4 realms, unlike anything we can imagine. Realms so subtle that the very idea of a body disappears. No mountains, no oceans, no stars, no faces, nothing that we would recognize as a world. These are known as the formless realms. They cannot be reached through faith alone, nor through good deeds. They arise only through the highest states of meditation, states in which the mind gradually lets go of every attachment to form itself. The first is the realm of infinite space. Here, all boundaries dissolve. There is no center, no edge, only endless vastness stretching in every direction. For the beings who dwell there, space itself appears limitless. Yet eventually, even infinite space no longer satisfies the mind, and so consciousness turns inward once again. The second realm is the realm of infinite consciousness. In this state, awareness seems boundless. There is no longer attention fixed on objects or places, only the experience of consciousness itself, vast, silent, without end. But even infinite awareness is still an experience, and whatever can be experienced can also be left behind. The journey continues. The third realm is known as the realm of nothingness, not darkness, not emptiness in the ordinary sense, but the profound perception that there is simply nothing. Nothing to hold, nothing to become, nothing to grasp. And beyond even that lies the most mysterious realm of all, the realm of neither perception nor non-perception, a state so subtle that language begins to fail. Awareness has not vanished, and yet it cannot truly be said to remain. The mind exists at the very edge of experience, almost beyond all knowing. For countless ages, Beings may dwell within these extraordinary states. Their lifespans extend beyond imagination. To human beings, such realms might seem like the final destination, the end of the journey, the ultimate freedom, but the Buddha taught otherwise, because even these realms, however vast, however peaceful, however sublime, still belong to samsara, the endless cycle of birth and death. Even the highest heavens eventually fade. Even the deepest meditation eventually ends. And so a question remains: if neither pleasure, nor power, nor even the most refined states of consciousness can free us, then what determines our path through this immense universe? What decides where we go next? The answer, according to Buddhism, is karma. If the universe contains 31 realms of existence, what determines where we are born? Why does one being rise toward heavenly worlds, while another falls into suffering? The Buddha's answer was simple: karma. But karma is often misunderstood. It is not fate, it is not destiny, and it is certainly not punishment. Karma is intention. It is the invisible force created by every choice we make, every word we speak, every thought we allow to grow within us. A single act of kindness may seem small. A moment of anger may pass in seconds. A generous gesture, a lie, an act of compassion, a selfish decision, none of them disappear. Each leaves an imprint upon the mind, and over time, those imprints shape the direction of our lives. According to Buddhist teachings, rebirth is not decided by chance, nor is it judged by any divine being. It unfolds through causes and conditions that we ourselves create. The worlds we enter tomorrow begin with the thoughts we cultivate today. And among all the moments that shape our future, one moment holds extraordinary power: the final moment of life. As death approaches, memories arise, emotions surface, attachments reveal themselves. For some, there is gratitude. For others, fear. For some, love. For others, regret. The Buddha taught that the state of the mind at this final moment can influence the next birth, not because one thought erases an entire lifetime, but because the mind naturally turns toward the tendencies it has practiced again and again. A lifetime of compassion makes compassion easier. A lifetime of anger strengthens anger. A lifetime of mindfulness prepares the mind to meet death with clarity. That is why Buddhism places such importance on everyday actions. Not only the great moments, not only the extraordinary achievements, but the countless choices that no one else sees, the patience we show, the grudges we carry, the kindness we offer, the thoughts we repeat in silence. Because, little by little, they become who we are. And perhaps this is the deepest lesson hidden within the 31 realms. Every moment matters. Every intention matters. Every breath matters. Yet even karma, even heavenly rebirth, even the highest states of existence, are not the final goal. For the Buddha pointed towards something beyond them all, something beyond heaven, beyond suffering, beyond birth and death itself. He called it Nibbana. After traveling through the 31 realms, from the deepest hells to the highest states of consciousness, we arrive at the final question. What was the Buddha truly trying to teach? Was his message a promise of heaven? A warning about suffering? A map of the universe waiting beyond death? Perhaps, but not entirely, because the Buddha did not spend his life teaching people how to reach paradise. He taught them how to be free. In Buddhism, even the most magnificent heavens are impermanent. Even the brightest celestial worlds eventually fade. Even beings who dwell for billions of years must one day leave behind everything they know. Nothing lasts forever. Not wealth, not power, not pleasure, not sorrow, not even existence itself. This endless cycle of birth and death, of gaining and losing, of becoming and disappearing, is what the Buddha called time's samsara. And according to his teachings, liberation does not come from finding a better place within that cycle. It comes from stepping beyond it entirely. That freedom is known as Nibbana. Nibbana is not a heaven hidden somewhere beyond the stars. It is not a reward. It is not a place where the self lives forever. The Buddha described it as the extinguishing of greed, the ending of hatred, the disappearance of delusion. When the fires that drive suffering are finally extinguished, the cycle comes to an end. No more grasping, no more fear, no more wandering from one realm to another. Only peace. For many of us, such freedom may seem impossibly distant. We still become angry. We still cling to the people we love. We still chase success, approval, and certainty in an uncertain world. But perhaps awakening does not begin with extraordinary wisdom. Perhaps it begins with something much simpler. A moment of patience, a moment of honesty, the courage to forgive, the willingness to let go, a single breath taken with awareness, because every step on the path, no matter how small, moves us away from suffering and closer to freedom. And so, after this journey through the 31 realms of existence, perhaps the most important question is not, where will we go after death? But rather, at this very moment, which realm are we living in? Thank you for joining this journey. May wisdom guide your path. May compassion fill your heart, and may you find peace wherever you are.